Well, folks, we're back on an hour with Bob, and I bring back a good friend of mine. He just won a primary, a four-way primary in East Providence. And he's on to the general election. He's been the mayor for, we're going to find out how many years now. But before he was a mayor, I knew him as a Pawtucket patrolman, and who went on to become an officer in the Pawtucket Police Department, was there. We'll get to that, too. I'll ask him that. I don't want to have to tell you, because I might be wrong how many years. But he was there a long time in Pawtucket. And now he's in East Providence. And he's still costing me money, because in East Providence, I paid for, I think, 6 speeding tickets, like 30, 31, 32 miles an hour. I know it's school zone. Mayor, how you doing?
Doing great,
Mayor
Bob.
DaSilva, how you doing, Robert?
Nice to see you. How you doing?
Good, good.
Excellent. Thank you for having me on your show. I always like coming down here and reminiscing about our old times.
Old times
back
in
in the day
Pawtucket.
when I was a young patrolman and I met you for the first time over
Yep.
in Woodlawn.
Yes.
You don't
No,
still-
no, I met you. I took your picture when you became a cop.
That's right. That was the very first time. You're right.
Yep.
You're right. And yeah, it was a wonderful career. I spent 25 years with the city of Pawtucket, serving the residents of the city of Pawtucket. It was a great experience. I managed to serve in various capacities. I started as a patrolman. As you recall, I was assigned to the detectives, and I was in narcotics for a few years. And then became a
Officer?
a sergeant,
Sergeant.
detective sergeant, lieutenant, detective lieutenant, and then I ended my career as a police captain. So it was a great experience. Those 25 years went by in a blink.
No kidding,
It really
huh?
did, yeah.
Now, when you left there, you didn't become the mayor. You became a state representative, as I recall.
While I was serving as a police officer, I did run for office. I was a state representative that represented a portion of Pawtucket and
Right.
East Providence.
Right.
I did 2 terms serving our community. I then ran for Senate, and I came short a few votes. And then I was out of politics. And I'm the type of person, I like to be involved in things. So I saw an opportunity to, I had been coaching soccer for many years with my children. And I saw an opportunity to start a nonprofit youth soccer organization. So myself and some friends got together and we started what's called the East Providence Youth Soccer Association. It's now one of the largest youth soccer programs in the state. And I no longer run it. The president now, Mike Resendiz, runs it. But it was great doing that. And I thought I was out of politics.
Right.
The people of East Providence decided they wanted a different form of government. We used to have a city manager.
That's right. You were the
And
first mayor of East Providence.
I was blessed to be the first mayor. I feel honored to be the first mayor. But what happened there was, once again, the people of East Providence saw the mismanagement, the budget commission, all the problems, the old political powerhouses that really were causing issues and problems in our city.
The establishment.
The
as it's
establishment, as you want to call it. They wanted to change, and they voted to change the form of government to an elected mayor form of government.
Right.
And then people started reaching out to me, saying, "Hey, Bob, you're involved in the community. You run the soccer organization. You're a person of honor and integrity. You used to be an elected official. Do you want to run for mayor?" My first response was no. I didn't want to run for mayor. I was happy involved with the youth soccer. But after a few conversations, and I said, "Look, you have to convince my wife."
I was just going to say that. It all comes down to the other side.
You need family support. And I said, "Convince my wife. Let's have a sit down." And we did. And thank God, she's super supportive. I mean, this re-election that we're involved in right now, and in the initial election, she's been by my side and one of the strongest advocates for me in the campaign. And I'm very blessed to have her and support of my mom and dad, who are still around. The primary we just had was a dreary day. There was rain.
Yep.
And there's my dad and mom
And your
out there
last
in the
one,
rain.
as I recall, was a rainy day.
Yeah,
too.
you got a great
I
memory,
worked
yes.
I worked in your campaign.
I remember that. Yes, that's right.
I was working for McKee, but I was passing out your leaflets too.
I remember that. It was a rainy day, that one too. Also.
Exactly.
So,
And as this one was, and I was over there. Remember, I ran into you guys.
yeah.
And the
Yeah,
way.
yeah, it just happened that both of those, I guess rain is good luck, because we had a great result in the primary, and hopefully that carries through to the general election.
I know it was 4 people in the race, right, in the primary.
Yes, so East Providence local elections for council and for mayor are nonpartisan. That means
Right.
if you have more than 2 candidates announced,
Doesn't make any difference, Republican, Democrat, or anything.
doesn't matter
like
what
Pawtucket, like
right.
Pawtucket. was.
Doesn't matter what you are. So We had 4 candidates. The 2 top vote getters go on to the general election in November. So I was fortunate enough to come out with 51% of the vote, and hopefully we can continue the positive progress that we've established here in our city. We've accomplished so much and done so much in really a short period of time, 3.5 years. So.
All right, I'm gonna give you a couple shots here.
Sure.
First, not shots. I'm gonna throw some at you. I'm
Yes,
not gonna knock you
absolutely.
any shots. I'm not here to debate you.
No.
The Key project. What is that all about?
The South Key, well, that's a great project. So the South Key is a piece of property that was filled in back in the 1980s, and it was supposed to be a multimodal port to transport coal, believe it or not.
Right.
And it would connect to rail lines. Rail lines would bring the coal. So that never developed. It never became anything. But the land was there, sitting there from the 1980s, doing nothing. So working in conjunction with new property owners and with the Governor McKee and his administration, we're looking to develop this as a deep channel port that will serve the offshore wind industry. Many people may not be aware that there will be billions of dollars of investment in the offshore wind industry. And Rhode Island doesn't have the port capacity to support that.
Right.
So when we saw this untapped potential on our waterfront, we worked with the ownership, with the state. So we've got a public-private partnership. The governor was able to get $35 million into the state budget. We got the support of Speaker Sakachi, President Ruggiero, and so that passed. And now we're looking at hopefully completing, we broke ground on it the other day, but completing phase 1, which would allow for 1 berth. And we're talking about good, high-paying technical jobs, not only in the short term for the construction of the project, but also long-term, because what will happen is these big components will be shipped by barge.
Yeah. And they are big.
And
I've seen them close up.
They're huge. And they will be shipped by barge to this new port in East Providence called the South Key. And technicians and workers will assemble them, wire them, get them ready, put them back on a barge, and ship them out to the final
Because once you put them
destination.
together, they'll never fit on the roads.
Never. No.
They're
As a matter of fact,
180 feet, as far as I remember seeing them in the West Coast when I was in the Delta region of California. It was 180 feet from point to point.
yes, they're very large structures. And the great news is once the port is built, the traffic will all be water traffic. So barges will bring in the components. They get assembled
raw material.
They get assembled on land,
Yep.
and then put back on barges.
Right.
So it's not, during construction, of course, you'll see, vehicle traffic coming in and out as the construction goes on. But once that construction is done, the operation of the port will be mostly water-based.
All right, now, I think I know what you're talking about. And that's the area that's down by, there used to be a guy down there that had old cars, fancy old expensive old cars. He had a...
Oh, the East Providence Yacht Club? I think, are you talking about that?
No, but I know exactly where I know where that is.
Yes.
But I'm talking about that mesh of land just before you go up the hill to go to the Veterans Parkway.
So where this location is, if you're familiar with Tockwatton Nursing Home, and you're familiar with the Bow Point Park where we have our Bow Point concert series.
Yeah.
If you were just to drive past Bow Point, it's the road that needs to get built and finished that would lead you in onto where this property is located. So it's right, the easiest way, the main point of access will be Waterfront Drive.
Okay.
So you'll be able to get there from Waterfront Drive. By the way, the ownership of this land, the people who own it, they also are the ones who are involved with Live Nation, and they're the ones that had brought the Bow Point concert series here to East Providence. They are going to be breaking ground, hopefully later or early in 2023, to build an outdoor concert venue, which is going to be similar to, if not exactly like, I'm not quite sure, to the Leader Bank Pavilion in Boston.
Oh, wow.
They built that concert venue in Boston, and they're going to build a concert venue here on our waterfront.
In East Providence?
In East Providence. It's going to be fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah. We're very excited. There's so many great things happening in East Providence. Over the last 3.5 years, it's hard to believe the progress we've made in such a short period of time.
All right, affordable housing.
We're working hand in hand with the McKee administration to bring more affordable housing opportunities. We broke ground on one called Ivy Place across the street from City Hall. We had a piece of land with a couple of old defunct school buildings that we took down,
Right.
and we subdivided the lots. 8 of the lots were for single-family homes, and we bid them out so that individuals would be able to buy it. We didn't want a big
Oh, wow.
corporation. We didn't want a big corporation coming in, or a big
Come in,
company
right.
buying them all out, and then just, we wanted individuals to buy it, so we bid that out. And then 3 of those lots were deed restricted as affordable housing, duplexes. So we actually went out to bid. We're evaluating the bids now, and our goal is to have those be owner-occupied affordable housing. So one side would be lived in by the owner.
Right.
The other side would
Could
be
be rented out?
deed restricted at affordable rent. So, so we're creating 6 brand new units. But we really hope to see a lot more. We need a lot more affordable housing.
Oh, yeah, the whole state does, the whole country does.
And I know that we have the governor, and once again, with the help of the General Assembly, they put in $250 million for more affordable housing. And you can leverage that money into $1 billion of more affordable housing in the state of Rhode Island. And we want to be a part of that. So we're working.
Well, there you go. There you go. Now, you got parks. You got the old Crescent Park.
Yes, yes. Where the carousel's located.
And the carousel stop, is it back operating?
It's back up and running. There's still more work to be done because it is an old structure, and as they get older, they start to fail certain components. It's moving parts, right? So there's a center bearing that needs to be replaced, which involves taking down the whole carousel, not the exterior, but the interior has to be taken down, and then
Well, that's
a big
expensive.
project. That's
because
expensive and big.
That's tedious work. They got to rebuild all those horses and all that stuff. Is that what you're talking about?
What's fascinating about the carousel, and what I learned, there's a center mast, like on a ship.
Right.
And everything that, like the platform and the horses, it's all off this, it's all bearing weight on the center mast.
Right, right.
I always thought it was some type of a platform with rollers or something. I had no idea.
It catches from the top.
I learned.
And connects down to the sides, the outside.
And it holds it up.
Holds it up, yeah.
So it's fascinating. So up top there's a bearing that's over 100 years old, and that bearing has worn over time.
A bearing.
A bearing. Am I saying
a
it
bearing,
wrong?
A bearing.
A bearing.
A bearing.
It's my Portuguese accent. So we need to replace that, and that's going to be a big project. The council has allocated funds for it, so we're looking to do that project sometime next year.
Now, you old enough to remember Crescent Park?
Yes, as a matter of fact, my mother has pictures of me when I was a little baby.
Yeah?
Well, maybe 2 or 3 years old, riding some of the rides there. Yes, I do remember. Yes, I remember Rocky Point too.
I was just going to say that. If you remember Crescent Park, you remember Rocky Point.
Which was a great. I mean, it was great. It's sad that we don't have that here in Rhode Island anymore, but it was great because even as a young man, when I was like 18, 19, it was great to take a ride down to Warwick and go visit Rocky Point. It was always a fun place to go.
Yeah.
But,
Well, Crescent Park was, so they used to have a lot of concerts there. In fact, I met Bobby Venturini there one time.
Wow.
Yeah, back in the day.
well, speaking along Rose Larissa Park and Crescent Park, we're dealing with a seawall that collapsed. That's another project that we've
Where's
been
that?
working on. So right where the where the concert shell is at Rose Larissa Park.
Right.
The seawall that's behind that, the support that holds up the park, it was close to 100 years old. That failed. So we're in the process now. We hired engineers, and they're in the process of actually building it right now. So it's actually, as we speak right now, they are building that seawall, a new seawall, which is a big project, but it's things, things like that. Sometimes, as mayor, you get these unforeseen circumstances that come up, and then you have to deal with it. The pandemic, that was unforeseen for everybody, right? And then we had to deal with that for 2 years. And so, but despite all of that, you see tremendous progress with projects that were not doing anything for a long time, and now we're starting to see them go in the right direction.
Yeah, you see the city moving. There's no doubt about it. You can see that. I can see it just driving through. You can see different things that, that was never there before. This was never there. Like the high school. My God, I went by there one time when you were first building that high school, and I said, "What the heck are they putting there?" I thought it was I thought it was a casino. It's so big.
It's beautiful. You know why it's so big? Because we combined, and it was really it's a brilliant idea. They combined the academic with the career and technical. So
Right.
whereas you had two separate buildings, now it's on one building, but it's all combined.
Right.
You know, so it's a beautiful project. Let's think about this for a minute. We built that thing in 2 years under budget during a pandemic. And
How did that happen?
It was because we put a project labor agreement in place to make
What do you
sure.
mean? What do you mean?
So that made sure that all of the trades agreed to certain rules to make sure that the project got done.
Right.
And it was a tremendous undertaking, and we did it at the right time because the pandemic, unfortunately, has had an incredible effect on the prices of material now,
Yes.
raw materials.
Yeah.
There were also supply line issues. We didn't face any of that because we had started the project at the right time, and we got it all going. And I was amazed to see how quickly they built that. They did a good job.
Yeah, I was surprised. That's why I thought it was a casino, because I said, nobody builds something like this. That's a municipal project that gets done this fast.
It's really a huge point of pride for many people in our community, you know, and it's wonderful when people in our community come to visit and they see, wow, what a great job. But a lot of credit goes to the school committee,
Right.
who are there now, the building committee, who were very involved, and it's a testament to all of the work that went on ahead of time. When I was running for office, one of my opponents, whose husband is now running for office also,
For that office?
who's running for mayor now, one of my opponents was a dead set against building this high school. And that was one of the differences that we had. I was for building the high school. I thought that our community needed it.
Right.
Our students needed this infrastructure. But, you know, here we are, fast forward, it was the right decision. The people voted to support that bond issue, and we ended up building that thing in a timely fashion. So,
And what percentage did the city of East Providence have to come up with?
we're getting reimbursed about 74%. But
Oh,
what
nice,
happens is
nice.
people don't understand the whole process. So we have to borrow the entire amount.
Right.
So you borrow $189 million is what we borrow.
Big number.
That's a big number.
Big, especially for a small city like
Right.
East Providence.
And then we make payments, and as we make payments for the next 25 years, we get this, you know, the state sends us their portion. But it's, bottom line is we borrow the whole amount first, and then we have to stop making those payments. And you have to have in your budget the capacity to do that. Now, we are also supporting another bond issue that will be before the voters to rebuild and build a new middle school at Martin Middle School. So there's more work to be done. Some of our, you know, Martin Middle School has a lot of challenges. We want our students to have the best opportunities. We want our students to have good, safe, and quality education environment. We don't want a child, you know, in a classroom where it's distracting because they don't have AC, they don't have proper separation between classrooms. You know, things are failing. So we don't want that. We want to see our students, all of our students, have the best opportunity to get the best education possible. So that bond issue will be coming out to the voters again this year.
Oh, good, good. Now, community center, what is?
So, I'm glad you brought that up. Twice in the past, the people of East Providence had voted on bond issues to support building a community center for
Right.
East Providence. East Providence does not have a community center
None.
for our children. None. When I came into office, the city was renting a space from a nonprofit here in East Providence. We were paying about $60-something thousand a year, I forget what it was, $65,000 a year, for a space that was woefully inadequate and quite honestly not where I'd want to send my kid, right?
Right.
So it was brought to my attention, hey, Mayor, check this out. I went and checked it out. I
Yep.
took a tour. I was like, we're out of there. So we pulled them out. We pulled them out. We pulled them out. And we ended up merging the programs in the lower level of the senior center.
Yep.
And so that worked out well for a little while, but we need a community center. We have a commitment from our congressional leadership to get us about $3 million. So they put in for congressional directed spending $3 million. I've been working with the McKee administration. He put $47 million in his budget to support local community centers. We're hoping to get a
Piece of that action.
yeah, we're hoping to get a piece of that action. So I want to deliver to our community a quality, first-rate community center. They need it. They deserve it.
Well, that's good.
And we'll work
Well,
on
you're doing pretty good over there for a former cop, huh?
We're doing it. I'll tell you what.
How do you get along with the cops, by the way?
I get along very well with the police
you?
officers. Yes, we have a great group of first responders. I mean, Like every other municipality, when you were faced with the challenges of COVID and the pandemic, everyone stepped up. Everyone stepped up to their role. And I'll tell you what prepared me well was having had management experience in the police department, having gone up through the ranks and, dealing with crisis situations, fast evolving situations as a police officer and as a sergeant on the scene or as a lieutenant or as a captain. These things all help, right? And then having had that legislative experience helped negotiate things that I had to negotiate through the legislature, through the General Assembly. So I believe our administration has dealt with the challenges that we've been, thrown at us. We've dealt very well with those challenges, and we hope to be able to continue that work for the community on behalf of our residents for the next 4 years.
Yeah, and that was the other question I was going to have. It's a 4-year term?
Yes, sir.
Pawtucket's still a 2-year term.
Yeah, I was actually speaking to Mayor Grebian. I mean, I think Mayor Grebian's done a good job there, but having stability, having a 4-year term, allows you to see projects through to completion.
Right.
It takes a lot of time to get things done. People sometimes so a lot of times people say, well, how come this is not done? They think you can snap your fingers and get things done.
Right.
It takes a lot of time when you're dealing with bureaucracies, when you're dealing with having to follow
The permits and everything
laws,
else, yeah.
like, state laws. It may be a permit that I need to get a state permit or a DEM permit, CRMC permit. There's all these things, even doing things within our state roads. I need to get DOT approval. There's so much that happens behind the scenes before you see a project actually break ground or before you see that project completed.
Right.
There's so much that's happened. Sometimes years of work has gone into finally getting a shovel in the ground. And that's what people don't see oftentimes. They think that you're sitting down on Facebook all the time, because I do use my Facebook very effectively. I do. I use it to communicate with people, because people don't get, people get their news oftentimes, unfortunately, through social media. But what we did is we wanted to be more transparent. We started a newsletter. We do an electronic newsletter to the community. There's like over 12,000 people on that list that receive a newsletter from us once a month or twice a month to let them know what's going on. But we also use social media for the city. The city has its own social media pages, and I have my own personal social media pages. So I want to communicate with the people, and I think what I've heard from a lot of residents is that they appreciate that I'm out there letting them know about the new restaurant that just opened up, or the new business that's coming to town, or hey, there's going to be a parking ban here, or a snow ban, or by the way, slow down in front of the school so you don't get a ticket.
6 tickets.
Take it easy.
But the highest speed was 33. Usually 31. I usually get near one over.
Those school safety cameras were put in place because the council asked us to look into it, and the community asked us to do something about the way people drive. I mean, it's actually, if you Google it and look into it, people's driving during the pandemic, for whatever reason, became
speeded up.
They became much more
reckless.
Why?
You know why? Less cars on the road.
Less cars on the road, yeah. And statistics show that people's driving habits have become worse over the years. So we needed to come up with a solution. We came up with this solution. And you know what? It forces people to pay closer attention. Not only when you're driving through our school zones, but when you're driving in other parts of the city now, you have to pay closer attention, because you're thinking, wait a minute, is there a speed safety camera here? Yeah. So, and by the way, 82% of those violations are out of town people. Thank you so much, Bob. And those violations and the revenue that comes in goes to offset any potential tax increases to our residents.
Oh, so I've kept your taxes down.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
But in my defense, folks, this is in the school zone. That's on Pawtucket Avenue, East Providence, which is 4 lanes, 2 lanes on each side. And the highest speed I've got nailed at was 33 miles an hour.
It's not bad. It's only 13 miles over the speed limit. So
over the 20 mile an hour speed limit.
That's right.
Not the normal speed limit. Because all of a sudden it hits you. You know what you need? Well, you should have, but they probably don't want to have, because you wouldn't get as much money from people like me if they had blinking lights.
Actually, no, we ordered those. We're putting them up.
Are you kidding?
No, we're putting them up. We have
because it's tough to see when it starts and when it stops.
We have those flashing lights up at a couple of the school speed zones. And
I didn't even know a school was there where I get nailed.
And we will be putting them up there too. So we order them. It's on order.
So you get less money for me then?
Just for you.
Actually, I usually get nailed when I leave here. That's when I usually get nailed.
I can only ask you to take it easy. Slow down, and you'll be okay.
But I didn't even know there was a school there, that Margaret School.
St. Margaret, yes.
Right?
That's right.
On Pawtucket Avenue, East Providence, folks. Pay attention. Pay
That's right.
attention.
That's right.
Not the only community I've got nailed in, but it's the bulk of them.
Yeah. No, it's actually, look, the biggest complaint I get almost on a regular basis is from people asking us to do something about the way people drive in their communities.
Yeah, but
actually, residents have actually asked me if there's a way I can put some of these safety cameras on
Side streets.
other streets.
Right. No.
Which we can't, because the law only allows you to do it in front of schools,
Right.
school zones. But the reality is, and you look at what Providence has done. Providence is going with the speed bump method, right? I mean,
I hate them.
well,
I'd rather get a ticket.
The problem with the speed bumps is that when it comes to clearing snow, it becomes much more of a problem.
Oh, yeah.
And it slows down our ability to clear snow.
Sure.
And I got to give our DPW people a lot of credit. We had a blizzard this year. Did you know we had a blizzard this year?
Yeah.
We actually had a record-setting blizzard that, by the way, the governor submitted for a state of emergency with the federal
With the
government.
feds.
And we're getting reimbursed. The city will be getting reimbursed thousands, I think it's $100 and some odd thousand for our expenses associated
Right.
with that blizzard. But our DPW did such a great job clearing the snow during a blizzard, because we didn't have to deal with having, to hit speed bumps every so
Right,
often.
yeah.
And I feel confident that if we had speed bumps everywhere, people would not be happy, because here's what happens. I put a speed bump in front of your house. You're going to be sitting in your home, and you're going to be hearing ba-boom,
Crash,
ba-boom,
crash.
ba-boom.
Oh, yeah.
Every time someone goes over it.
Yeah.
So there's pluses and minuses with speed bumps, and overwhelmingly, I hear a lot of negatives with speed
Well,
bumps.
you know that as a cop, though. You knew that already as a cop,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You had the edge there, I
Yeah,
think.
Yeah. So, so that's where we are. I mean, there's so many great things happening. There was an announcement just the other day that we put out there. IGUS, which is a company located here in East Providence,
Right.
is investing $200 million in a multi-phase expansion. They will be the United States
IGUS?
IGUS.
I've seen that.
They build anything that has a moving part, right? Has bearings and moving parts. Relies on lubricants and oil. They build these components made of a special polymer that does not need any lubrication, lasts longer than steel items. They are located here in East Providence. They've been here for many, many years in East Providence.
Yeah, I've seen them. I must have seen them, because I know the name.
And to have a $200 million investment in our community, because first of all, they feel very confident that our community is a safe and stable community where they can continue their growth and expansion. So they announced the other day at the planning board a $200 million
That's huge.
expansion. That's huge for our city. More jobs,
Yep.
more, expanding the tax base. By the way, already, because they've already made an expansion, this is not the first time they've expanded, another company moved their operation from out of state into East Providence to supply them, because they were one of their biggest customers.
Right.
So they moved manufacturing from a different place to East Providence. They're over at Narragansett Park Drive on the Pawtucket border. And what they're manufacturing will be cables, special cables, that go in with the other components that IGUS manufactures.
Right.
And then these things go from robotics to manufacturing to anything in between. They've got about 30,000 different applications. So it's a good, growing business, and it's nice to have manufacturing coming back into the city and
Yes.
growing and expanding, because I want my kids and my grandkids, and I want everyone's children to have the opportunity to have a bright future.
Right.
Back in the day, you remember, Pawtucket and other parts, even East Providence and all these other communities had manufacturing jobs.
Yes, yeah.
My father worked in manufacturing as a mechanic in a factory for 35 years.
Yep.
You need those type of jobs. You need them.
Everybody doesn't want to go to college.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And for a lot of people, college is just a fun fest anyway.
Well, it ends up becoming a lot of times too with people go to college. Think about this: you're 18 years old and you're making a life decision that's going
Right.
to impact you for the next 30 years, right?
Right.
So 18 years old, you go to college and you incur substantial debt,
Nowadays, it's like 200,000, 150, 200,000.
and now you've got to pay this back. And sometimes you make a decision that, hey, this is not really what I wanted
Right,
to do.
right.
Yeah,
Oh, you don't want art appreciation or something? A history of English art or something like that?
I think the trades, and I do see our community pushing the trades more, our school department pushing the trades more. I believe that the trades are something that need to be, our students need to look at going into a trade.
Yep.
The same as if they were going to college.
Yep. And it is.
There are so many opportunities. You can come out of high school making more than your mom and dad because you go into it as an apprentice somewhere.
That's right.
And you've got a
That's
great
right.
career ahead of you. You know?
Well, listen, we got to go because I got an electrician working on my house right now.
See what I'm saying?
we got to wrap it up, Robert. Good luck on the election.
Thank you.
I hope to see you election night, hopefully as a victor, because you've done a great job in East Providence as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. We hope to see you out there on November 8th. Don't forget, you can early vote. So, you know, it's
No,
not.
I believe in voting election day.
You do, but a lot of people believe that they can do it on, you know, earlier.
No, I know that. I know. All right, folks. Thank you
sir.
for spending an hour, Robert DaSilva, Mayor of East Providence. Folks, thank you for spending an hour with Bob.